First thing I just want to cover is that there's been a variety of different ways to build websites over the years, and we're going to create some tables, and in the process, that's actually a way people used to build websites. Originally, at the very beginning, people just used HTML and something called the font attribute in HTML to design websites. And early websites looked very much like your Gropius 2.1 site. After that, people built sites using tables. If you're familiar with the tables used in, well, let's see. Let me go new share, whiteboard share. Okay, so using a table, you'd build your website like this. You'd have your header in a cell that ran all the way across the top. You might actually have an additional cell there. You might have an additional cell for the logo, name. You might have a navigation there or something. You might have another cell, table cell that went like that. And then you'd put an image here, some text. And so on. So you'd have a table that had 1, 2, 4 rows. And then the row right in here would be, and then you'd have 2, 3, 4. And then you'd have 4 columns. You'd take certain cells and combine them. So this cell would be combined here. This cell would be combined here. And it looks very much like a regular website. The only problem is it's fixed at more or less that size, or at least that proportion, and you can't do a lot with it. If you went from here to mobile, to a phone, you would end up having the screen be very tiny, or you'd have to enlarge and scroll and do a lot of other work in order to be able to use it. So not too usable. So, okay, so mid-1990s to the mid-2000s, people used tables to build websites. Late 1990s to about 2010, people used something called Flash to build websites, which was an Adobe product that again wasn't super mobile ready, but did allow for animation. Then we're going to talk next class about CSS floats, which is something that came in the early 2000s and was a primary way of building websites kind of up until the point where responsive websites were required. There's also something called WordPress that came out in the early 2000s that combines HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP, which is a database language that would allow you to build a website. You'd build a structure, and then specific pages would be told to pull information directly from the database and then style it. And then finally, we have something called responsive web design, which uses something called CSS Grid, something called CSS Flex, and something called media queries to allow websites to be rearranged sort of on the fly, depending on how wide the screen is. So we're going to talk about tables today. We're going to talk a little bit about Flex. And then there's just a lot of other information it's useful to know. I want to talk, so tables. Tables are, let's see, let's think of tables as unordered lists that are even more complex. When we create a table, first of all, we create a box called table that holds the entire table. Secondly, we have two main boxes within the table, one T head, which is for any headers you have for the tables that explains what's going to be on your, what the columns are going to be. And you have T body, where the content of the table is. Then within the T head, we have a table row, which is a box that extends the width of the table. And then inside of that, you will have a number of cells, which in the table header and table head are named TH, like that. Down here, we have basically the same structure. We have table rows, as many rows as that we need to express our database, our data. And then inside of that, we'll have a series of cells. Depending on how you're labeling it, it's possible you'll have another T head on the left that'll explain what's in that row. And then you'll have a series of other cells for the rest of the data. And then you can also tell these to combine. So in this case, a TD col span equals 3 means that this cell will be 3 units wide. And what you need to have is you need to make sure that the number of cells wide is always the same number, because otherwise it kind of breaks the table and makes it look super weird. Okay. And here's an example of what the code might look like. So table head closes. We have a table row. And inside the table row, we have 4 table headers. And we tell it scope is column. So it means that this table header is talking about the column underneath it. Then actually, this is in the wrong place. Excuse me a second. Okay. Okay. Might as well fix it while I catch it. So again, we have the table wraps around this whole table. The T head wraps around the table header. The T body is contents. It's sort of like the main in a web page structure. And then the TR is sort of like the unordered list, UL, and then the T H or the TD is then your cells. Okay, so let's try to code this. Share, go to Dreamweaver. Okay, so we're going to go down to table. And I'm going to close this up a little bit and hope that it works. Give me a little bit more space to work. So table. Then inside the table, we have a T head. And then we have a T body. Okay. Inside the T head. And you can't really see anything right now. So let me do this. I'm going to go back up to here and I'm going to add the asterisk. Okay. So T head. We're going to add a TR. And all of this right now is showing up as this tiny little square right there because there's no content. And now I'm going to put a TD and I'm going to tell it to have a non-breaking space. So a blank space inside of it. Now this starts to get a little bigger. Then I'm going to create a TH scope equals col. And I'm going to tell this to be age. So there we have age. And then we have TH scope equals column. Second one will be first name. TH scope equals col. Last name. And then last one, TH scope equals col. And this will be grade point. I don't really know what these people's grade points are. So I'm just making it up. Okay, so that gives us our header. So we have a blank space there, and you'll see why in a moment. And we have age, first name, last name, grade point. So far, not too pretty. And then we're going to go down to the T body. And we're going to have the first TR. Actually, it's going to be a TH. And then again, scope equals row. And it's going to be number 1. And then we're just going to go to simple TR. Which we don't have to scope. 32. TR. John. TR. Glenn. And then actually, no, I have this wrong. These should be TDs. Which so fix that, TD. And then finally TD and 3.04. These people were probably all 4.0. T body. And the reason I made a mistake here is that this should in fact be TR. And this closes with TR. Okay, so I apologize. It should match this, only we're using TDs instead of THs. So in the body, the first row, TR, TH, TD, 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 TD. And I'm going to copy this. Actually, no, I'm going to do it right the next time. So TR, TD, TH, scope equals row. And this is number 2. TH. TD. TD, Gus, TD, Grissom, and then 3.28. And TR. So you can see how this is all happening over here. Slowly we're building a table. And so I'm going to copy this and V, B. So this is going to be number 3. It's going to be number 4. 36. Right, 4.0. And 5. Six. Okay, so now I have my table. Kind of like that. And then we're going to go add under that, we're actually going to add a T foot. Inside that T foot, I'm going to add another TR. Inside that, I'm going to add a TD call span equals 5. Option G, 2024, all rights reserved. TD TR. View, refresh live view. So there's a very basic table right now. And now we're going to go and I've got to find out what's going on. T foot, right. Let's finish closing the T foot. And that got rid of the error mark. Okay. Now we're going to add some CSS to make this a little prettier. When I do that, I'm going to turn off this again by deleting the asterisk. So that's what that looks like. And I'm going to go to my table. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the table to be width 100%. There's one other thing I wanted to do here. So you can see that I made this all suddenly expand out. There's one other thing which isn't visible here. If we go to table and form, I'm going to add margin 0 auto and zero auto, so that when this is on a web page that's wider than 1,000 pixels, that it will center on the page rather than look ridiculous. So sorry that I added those later, but there they are. Margin 0 auto and margin 0 auto added to table and form, and those will now all center. And if you go to you share, We go to here and we go to tables and forms and we hit refresh. We now see that we have that like that. And now I have to figure out why that didn't work. Share. No reason that shouldn't have worked. Because I put that in the wrong place. It actually needs to go here. And then we go refresh. It's also a little nicer because I only had to put it in one place. Now we hit refresh. And so tables and forms is over there. And so maybe we ought to tell that to center, but this is all centered on the page now. Okay, next. Well, so we go to the each one. Instead of having that, we'll just text align center. And there, that's probably a little better. Okay, next. So we've told the table to be 100%, so it's now much wider. It's not fully 100% because we have padding on this cell or on this section, pushing it in a little bit. We're going to then add, actually, I'm just going to add that back in. So you can see what that's doing. Okay, I'm also going to add text align left. Which gets inherited. Though oddly enough, it doesn't get inherited to the table header. Border spacing. Is going to be 0. And border collapse separate. Is that right? Just a second. And you'll notice before there was space between these cells, and now there is new space. Then we're going to go and tell the TH and the TD to be padding 6 pixels and width is 20%. And so our table just expanded. Okay. And we're going to go to the TH That effectively hasn't done anything, so I'm going to just remove that. T-body, TH. So any TH within the T-body is going to now be background color beige. So we get a slightly different color there. TD. I'm thinking this isn't going to do anything. Let me try TD. Uh, 22%. What happens if I do this? Interesting. Hmm. Well, now I'm just making a mess. I should stick with my original coding. So who knows what will happen. Just trying to get this to go smaller. It's not cooperating. Okay. Well, you'll all hate me later, but oh well. Um, you know, it works. Don't need that. Okay. Okay. So for the TD foot, the TD in the TD foot, we told the color of the type to be white and the background color to be black. And now we can get a little crazier. This is something more like, let's see. So there we go. That was what was wrong. That width was coming up to be greater than 100, and so the last line was a little short. So that's better. And then finally, we're going to go really crazy. We're going to tell it TD nth child row 5 and actually make that TH nth child 5 and TD colon nth child 5. It's the line right. So the grade point average is now a line on the right. Easy, right? And then T-body, TR, so the row, nth child, and we're going to tell it odd, background color, yellow, okay? And then we're going to take and I'm going to change this to even, and I'm going to change this to orange. And so we have a chart that kind of looks like that. This color's a little bold. And now I can go up and delete this. And you see that we have a chart like that. Now what I could do if I wanted to make this a little crazier, I could get rid of these widths here. And I could do TH nth child. One width is 10%. That's pretty good, right? Finally did what I want. Command V, ret, Command V, ret. So instead of, so 1 and 2 and 5. Or make that 20, make that 15. And that's more reasonable. And I could even make this like 5. Like that, and I can control the whole thing. Okay, and so that is a table and various ways that you can control the table using CSS. And this is, anyway, this is all kind of interesting. And the end result is a table that looks like that.